Hey, what's up? We're live. Let me know you can hear me well and that you can see me well. I'll be looking at some of your chats as we get started. Now, today's live, we're going to do some drawing tips. I don't have that much of a curriculum ready, but I always get a lot of drawing related questions. So I think we can just go off of something very initial and then starting to listen to what you ask in the chat. So it's going to be mostly questions you ask, and I'll try addressing them. I have just a sketchbook here with me. I can also flip through it, show you some of the works that I have in here. And what we'll do is I'll use this to demo whatever I'm talking about. I wanted to dedicate a live stream to this topic, and let me just rearrange my Mac. I wanted to dedicate a live stream to this topic in particular because I always get asked about it, and I always address it in a very quick way. I don't delve too deep into the explanations because it's usually while I'm doing something else. Either while I'm working on a painting or while I'm doing something else, and I want to be sure that I get enough time to actually address it properly. Okay? So thank you to anyone who is here. We'll get started. Let me just say a couple of things. What I want to do actually is I want to, and by the way, I forgot to, so usually what I do the day before the live stream, I will post it on here on YouTube, on Instagram. So today I didn't, yesterday, meaning I didn't get the time to. So we're just going off of like a very, probably it's going to be a smaller viewer base today, and probably also just because of the topic, the painting processes get the most views. But in any case, I'm going to do this, and then after a few hours, people are going to be like, were you live? Did I miss it? And yeah, so sorry about that if anyone's missing. I did not do a good job at promoting this one. By the way, this head of hair in a couple of hours will disappear. It's way too much hair, and it is time to get a haircut. Finally, so I will get one. So let me know, again, if you can hear me well. I'm not sure. I don't see the chat for some reason, like at all. So let me see if I can figure that out. But in any case, we'll do okay. So here's the thing. What I want to do is first talk to you about warm-up. Because warm-up is one of those things that I don't talk a lot about, but I actually have been getting into a very nice warm-up routine that I find really helps me to get in the zone and really, like you'll see me doing it live here. When I'm working on, and I put some bulldog clips here, but let me show you. When I get into figures and gestures, and I have shown this a couple of times, what I like to do is first start off with just doing a lot of lines and ovals and stuff like that. And then I do some 3D structures just to get the hand moving in all different directions, okay? It's really important, and if I don't do it, I feel my work is a little wonkier. And the funny thing about it is that I then realize, I then remember, oh, I didn't warm up. So just like anything. It's kind of like that awareness routine that I'll do every morning, but it depends on how it goes, that I'll do in the morning, generally speaking. If I'm cranky in the middle of the day and then I realize, oh, today I didn't do my awareness routine, my meditation, my writing, I didn't do it properly, so of course I'm going to be stressed out. So this is kind of the same thing, only with sketching. So I actually like the idea of having like a smaller live stream that has not as many viewers. It's actually nice. I don't know. We'll see how much we'll get this time, but it's like more solid, low-key kind of thing. So just flipping through these to show you this, like getting these nice curvy lines and getting everything in the right spot is really hard unless I properly warm up. Okay. And you will see, so this, by the way, this isn't my work. You probably recognize immediately it registers a little differently. So a friend of mine showed me how he makes up poses, like searching for them. And you see the same kind of a thing, same doing this kind of ovals and lines. I'm going to show you exactly how I do it, and then doing some gestures. I find what works best for me is this, then gestures, and then finally I'll do something that is supposed to have more of a three-dimensional depth to it. Okay, same thing. I'm going through that same pattern. It's fascinating to see just how much. And this is a really new sketchbook, so there isn't much in it. But let me just get started here, and I'm going to show you And again, if you have any questions, let me know. We may just end up talking about this kind of a warm-up session. Then I'll show you a couple of things and we'll go off of that. By the way, I want to check something real quick. I'm going to just open the stream on my phone because I want to be able to monitor some things and how I see it on my end. So my apologies for some dead air. We'll see. Here we go. Let's see if I can find it. 1 second. Okay, here we go. I'm going to lower the volume all the way down. Yeah, cool. Okay. I don't know why I can't see the chat here for some reason, so I'll just go off my phone. Maria Walschlegel, good morning. Domo, hey all. Andrea Wakert, hello from Munich. Sound is great, thank you so much. Daiji Shinomori, hello. I'll be watching you from our TV so my niece can see this as well while I chat from my phone. Cool, cool. May says hello from the living room. Mahai says hi. Of course I am. Hi, Liron. Hi. Thank you so much for anyone who's here. So let me get actually into the warm-up session that I do. Okay, I like writing the date just so that I have some kind of a monitoring on how frequently I practice. I know it's funny. So it's the 1st of April. Trying to get in the habit of actually writing the date. Just 21, but I don't know if it's the right way, so I won't for now. But in any case, so first things first, what you want to do, and sorry about the lack of focus, it's going to solve itself out once I do this. The first thing I like to do is the simplest thing is lines. The idea is you want to do lines in all different directions. So not just this, but go like that, go like this, go like that, go like this. And some directions are more challenging than others, okay? And you will feel it. You will feel it. This direction is very natural for most people. If you're right-handed, if you're left-handed, and it's going to be terrible, this is the most natural direction for you, okay? I can do this with my left hand too. I don't know, it could be an interesting experiment, but so yeah, a bunch of lines. But in any case, this will be kind of the most natural movement for most, maybe even the other way around. But once you get into these directions, it can get a little harder. What I've seen some people recommend doing is, instead of just drawing lines in all directions, which will warm up your hand and train you, what you want to do is mark 2 dots and then work on connecting those. The reason for doing that is you get a better feedback on how accurate you were. Okay, so I'll do like 2 dots and I'll connect them. 2 more dots and I'll connect them. 2 more dots and I'll connect them. I'll connect them both like this and the other way around. Okay, so you have to work on all directions. Directions. That's really important. That's the gist of this part. Now, one more aspect I want to talk about. I'll talk about how I hold my pencil in just 1 second. I do want to first talk about the technique. So, one thing that is really important is work on a variety of lengths of lines. So go like very short, which is easier. It's going to be easier, but also do very long lines. Okay. And do this is about the amount I'll do in a given session. Okay, sometimes I'll do more, sometimes I think usually I'll do this or more. But I'll continue ahead. Now, as for the way I'm holding the pencil, which is something I learned probably in the last year and a half to do properly, is if you work like this, that's good. You can achieve a lot, but by holding it up like that, you get a bit more freedom. You'll raise your elbow off the table, and I find that it gives me more freedom to do these longer wavy lines. Okay, so it's something you have to get used to. I know some people think that if you're not working on a very vertical surface, then it's not the right way to work, but I actually find that in either surface it works best for me for longer curvier lines. Once you get to the small details, yes, switch to a bit of a lower grip like this, but if you want, not lower, but just like normal writing grip. I find that this grip works much better for me. Okay, if you have any questions about that, let me know. Now, the next thing to have in mind is, the next step for this warm-up is, so we did lines in all directions. Now it's time to do ovals and circles. What ovals and circles do is basically the same thing. You work on moving your hand in all directions. So you're just going to go like this. And when you get started, you're gonna have a hard time. You'll have a hard time getting a circle, so you'll kind of search. But the more you do it, the more you'll find that you're able to get these in one go. Okay? The more you practice, like this is a really nice one. Okay? Same thing with the lines. Work in a variety of sizes. Okay? Work small, work large. Okay? Do a variety of these. I find these really important. Okay? And what I'll usually do is fill in kind of an entire page with these. At first I'll start with smaller ones, then I'll go with larger ones, and then I'll really challenge myself to get them in one go. So you do this thing called ghosting. And it's funny how as much as people talk about it, it still seems to be something that not a lot of people do or know about. It is really good. So ghosting is just you do the shape that you're intending to draw. First you kind of do it in the air, okay? And then after you feel confident with the movement, you bring your hand closer to paper, okay? So it's one thing you want to try and do. So you're gonna go like this, okay? Let's continue with the next page. I actually feel like I need the warm up. So I'm gonna ghost, and then once I feel comfortable and confident, I'll put in the circle, okay? Let's do one of these so that it can focus properly. Yeah, okay, this is better. Hopefully it will hold. So we'll go like that, kind of like this. There we go. Just do these bunch of circles. Something seems, I'm afraid something may be off with like the chat or the live stream in general. For some reason, I just don't see the messages. Maybe if I refresh, I don't know. Or maybe there just aren't many messages, but it's a little strange. We'll see. I don't know, maybe it's because I didn't promote it a day in advance. Who knows? So probably a lot of people did not see and did not join in, but that's fine. I'll try stop worrying about it. Okay, I'll just go ahead with the demo and hopefully you'll enjoy it. So circles all across, all around. Then once you get comfortable, do them larger, okay? Larger. And probably you want to go as large as you can at some point, okay? Because this is really the base for everything. Any shape you'll do will require all of these different motions, okay? Especially if you want to start doing ball shapes, representing ball shapes three-dimensionally in space. This will be really useful. It's really the basis for it. So, for example, we'll do this circle for now, but if you want to turn it into a ball, you can find the middle and then find some kind of vertical line, and on that you can base an oval. What you want to make sure is that it's of an equal distance from the center, okay? And then you'll do another line, let's say this, and you'll base another oval on that, and you got a sphere, okay? If you put an emphasis on one of these sides, you've got yourself a sphere, okay? Kind of like that. You can tilt the sphere, you can do a lot of things with it. So if you want to, let's say you want to tilt it like this, instead of going vertical, you go a little to this side, and that's what you base this axis on. Okay, and this one goes parallel to that. Okay, but the basis to all of these different shapes is doing these warm-ups. Okay, it really helps. This is why I do these. Now, let's talk about another thing I'll often do, and that is ellipses. And like there's a different word for it. I always forget. Not ellipses, but anyway, we'll get to it. But you know, different ovals that aren't like perfect circles. So you can start with just doing a bunch of these and doing a variety of widths, okay? So you can do them very thin, you can do them a little wider, a little wider, a little wider, okay? What this does is this is the base for cylinders. If you want to draw a cylinder, you go with an oval, two parallel lines, and another oval, okay? So this is the basis for that. You see, everything here is the basis for everything. So let me flip through and we'll use the clips here as well, just to secure it. because this has quite a lot, it's thick paper, so it actually has quite a lot of strength that will try and escape on us. Now I did get a bunch of chat messages in like together, so let me go over them. I don't know what, something weird about the chat. That's the step I missed, the ghosting part. Yeah, good. I'm happy that helps, Daiji. La Aquarelle, yay, I chanced upon this today, welcome aboard. Sally Smith says hi. Daiji says it's probably because it's an hour early. I usually watch your lives at 9 p.m. Philippines time. Interesting. Yeah, okay, because I go 9 a.m. Eastern. Let me actually check. I believe it is time. Oh, okay, I see. So, so the US moved their time again. Okay, yeah. So good. So it's my bad. Yeah, I went an hour in advance. So sorry about that. So what happened was I was following the time here and also in the UK because I was doing this interview with Tom Shepard. By the way, you'll listen to it on his podcast. But I wasn't monitoring the time change in the US, and I believe Eastern time was supposed to be an like you changed the clock recently on me probably. Okay, so yeah, my bad. Let's see here. Christine says good morning from Minnesota. Cynthia says hello, sir. I can hear you fine, thank you. Well, hi Liron, I'm gonna have lunch, but I'm here more or less. Gelcheck. Hey Liron, was expecting this an hour from now. Glad I turned in early. Yeah, sorry, my bad. So I did two main mistakes. One, I did not post about this live stream yesterday, so you could actually get ready for the time. And two, I went an hour early, so my bad. Notifications, yeah, turn on notifications, that'll help. But in any case, anyone who's here, I'm so grateful. We have about 40 people aboard. If you can, please leave a like. That really helps with the putting the video in front of more people, and then hopefully more people who missed it because of my mistake will see it. Okay, I will keep it on again. Of course I am. Yeah, our clocks went forward in the UK on Sunday. Yeah, on Sunday I knew that. Okay, so we'll do our best. People will join in, and I will leave this live stream up as always. Okay, so do I want to remove one layer because it's hot in my studio as always? I'll do that, and I'll come back just 1 second. Yeah, okay. It's getting way too hot, so close this. Ruth bailed on me as soon as I started again. So where were we? Oh yeah, okay. So ovals. So we want to work on a variety of types of ovals. So you want to go like this, maybe wider, and we'll talk about why and what happens here in a while. We'll go more into three-dimensional shapes. Okay. Now, for ovals, there is one thing you want to pay attention to. Don't just, you can start by drawing a bunch of them, but here's the thing. The ovals have the long axis, okay? And what you want to do is make sure that you follow that. So if that's the long axis, you base your oval around that, or your ellipse around that. You can miss it and kind of go wobbly here, you see? You don't see because it doesn't focus, so now it focuses. So you want to make sure you do that. So one thing you can do is actually first draw the line, and that connects to the previous thing we did with lines, and then base the oval around it and really pay attention if you did it right and you divided it down the middle. Okay, so ovals are also really important. One good exercise is to always practice finding the other axis. Okay, so you have the long axis, goes like this, and then you have the one that's parallel to it, because that's the thing that will help you draw a cylinder. Okay, that's terrible. That shouldn't happen. It should go like this, rounded. So this is pretty much the warm-up I do. Let's conclude because I see a bunch of people join. And I'm going to read your chats in just a moment. But let's conclude what I talked about so far for anyone who just joined. Basically what I showed is my warm-up routine. What I do is first I'll start with lines. And you want to be deliberate about it. Don't just draw a bunch of lines in different directions. Draw 2 dots and then work on connecting them. Okay? 2 more dots, work on connecting them. 2 more dots, work on connecting them. Do this in every possible direction, especially those going away and towards you like that. Those are extra challenging. Those that go to the side are a little easier. Then you do a bunch of circles, all sizes. Okay? Then you do a bunch of ovals. You want to hold your pencil this from above loosen up your shoulder if you can. That's the best. If you can draw from your shoulder, some people, there are all sorts of issues that prevent people from doing that. But if you can, that's a good scenario. You don't have to. You can do a lot not like that. Like, don't take it as the only way, but it can be very helpful. Okay. I may talk about how I sharpen my pencil too, because that's another interesting thing. Let's use here. Okay, oh, it's funny. Galjak, Liron, expecting, yes, sorry about that. La Corella was actually browsing my phone while doing my laundry. Notifications work, yep. Richard Bennett, now I got it. Hello everyone, hey Liron. Duke Nguyen, hi Liron, I'm here, welcome aboard. Happy that you're here, even though I'm 1 hour late. Amelie, hi from Philippines. Daiji says about the DST in the US. Cynthia, yes, we can hear you. Dave is here as well. Hi, Liron. Hope you are well. Thank you. I am. Clocks moved on the UK on Sunday. Cynthia, 7 a.m. in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Kelly Halligan, hi from Lauderdale by the sea. Vanessa, hi from Belgium. Thanks for your answer on Instagram. Love your lives. Thank you so much, Vanessa. Yeah, I remember your message now. I tried answering a lot of messages on Instagram the last couple of days. I know I didn't get to even close to everyone. Here's a plus. Focus on that. But I will gradually get to more people. Okay, so sorry about that. Now, where does all of this warm-up lead to? Eventually, you can draw whatever you want. This warm-up will help you with watercolors, with just drawing, working on illustrations, working on a bunch of things. If you just need to warm up the shoulder, this is a great way to go. Now, what I want to show you today is the more, not necessarily watercolor approach, but more kind of drawing and building three-dimensional objects. We'll go from that, and then I'll get your questions, okay, after that. So let me just show you a couple of things I'm working on. I have shown you most of these in the past here and there. Let's do this in a focused manner. After doing all of this, one thing I'll focus on is a cube, okay? And I've shown this again in a live stream, but the most common cube that you see people do is maybe even what kids learn is to, well, that's not the most basic. The most basic will be a square, another square, and then you connect all of the edges, okay? Now, I forgot the name of this, but whenever you have a grid that doesn't take perspective into consideration, this is what you get. So what do I mean by that? You have a grid. Let's say this is one part of the grid. Another part is this, the different X, Y, and Z axis, I guess. And then another one is this, okay? So in this kind of a grid, you can, or you can simplify it to just these arrows, okay? Like this and like that. If you follow this, so for example, this line, you get this side of the cube, then you follow this side, you get this side of the cube, this side of the cube, this side of the cube, and then you follow that third axis down, and what you'll basically get is a cube similar to this one. This is a cube where it doesn't take perspective into consideration. One of the things I do show, it doesn't matter as much perspective here, I'm showing you this for a certain purpose, you'll see. But one thing I do recommend is, again, tapering these lines because they move away from us. So think to yourself, what is closest to us? When we're looking at this cube, pop quiz, what's the part of the cube that's closest to us? Think about it for a few seconds. Ponder it. Is it this side? Is it this side? Is it this line? Is it that line? So, the closest part to us is this pointy edge, because we're looking at the cube kind of from above, and we're closest to this pointy edge, okay, this corner here. So anything that moves away from this corner should be smaller. So if we have the corner here, and we have this line, and that line, and this line, which are going to stay the same, this line here has to be shorter than this because it's going away from us. So a shorter line, instead of going full length here, we'll shorten it all the way to here, perhaps. So like this. This line should be shorter than that line, but we already have the corners, so why not just connect it? Like this. These lines also move away from us, remember? So instead of having them parallel, we'll have to taper them a bit. In other words, we'll have to make these lines shorter. Okay, so this line should be shorter than this line. And then I'm going to put it instead of here, here. So we taper that as well. Close that off. Do the same thing here. Taper that and close that off. So this is a bit of a better cube because it actually takes perspective into consideration. Okay? Now, I'm only showing you this because what I like to do next is practice cubes. So what you'll see me do is draw a cube from imagination from a multitude of angles. Let me show you how I do this. Okay? Let's flip the page here. Let's put this nice little plus shape down the middle so that my camera focuses on that. Let's see, and let's see for a second what you're writing in the chat here. I'm gonna grab my phone because I don't know why I don't see it actually on the YouTube interface, and I don't know if I can refresh this page or it will end the live stream. So I guess it's a bug by YouTube. So Rishab asks how to get, Linda says good morning Linda. Rishab asks how to get out of thinking can't draw anything, that you can draw anything. Basically, drawing is a skill. It's just something you have to learn like anything else. Like driving a car, like tying your shoelaces. You may have a bit of a different starting point than some other people who are maybe more visually oriented. But it is a skill, and that natural visual orientation will amount to crap if you don't practice it. Yeah, that's the bottom line. So even if you have that thought in mind, the one thing I would recommend is to just keep drawing. Find better resources. Maybe you're learning from something that doesn't help you. I guess find better teachers, different words, so that you know that the content you're learning from is actually correct and useful. But above all, you have to understand that this is an acquirable skill. It's not something that you just know how to do. So if you see anyone else doing it, you can probably do it too. Now, I think you can imagine visually, if anyone here is visual, which I guess some people are. So let's say that is your starting point. Now, some other people's starting point may be here. And let's say this is where you're headed, okay? And you have a person that's here, and you have a person that's there, you have a person that's here. These are all, let's say, starting points on this line of going all the way to mastery, okay? What happens is, that's my visual representation of it. You're probably here. You may think you're here, way back, but you're actually probably here because most people are, I guess, in the middle. I don't think anyone is naturally too gifted, or too, I don't know. But the thing is, the journey you have to go through is so long, it probably cannot even be represented on this page alone. It'll probably continue all the way down. So this starting point becomes so obsolete and unimportant. If someone started here and you started there, but you're going all the way down to here, it doesn't matter, okay? What you'll ultimately find, and this is what I believe, it's not based on science, but it's based on my kind of experience of seeing others and just guess, is that everyone has a bit of a different kind of path to their mastery, okay? So this person will go here, and this person will go there, and this person will go here. But here's what you have to understand. Yes, some person's potential, in theory, could be here while yours is here, okay? I hope I'm not overcomplicating things, but let's say this person who was a little ahead of you has the potential of getting here. This gap is also so unimportant because this is working on your skill. This is the amount of work everyone has to put in. So if you're looking at this kind of a difference in skill or in natural gift, and maybe this distance in end result, this, in my opinion, pure opinion, this is work. This is based on your work. Your work can get you from here all the way down to here. So yes, maybe someone has more potential, maybe not. I don't know. I don't know the science behind it. Maybe some people are more visually oriented. I think that there is proof of that. But this, all of this is something you have control over. That's what I want you to have in mind. Okay? I know that's like, because we're visual, that's how I understand these things. I always think about these things visually. So hopefully that helps someone out there. But yeah. Amuda says, hello, please give me a shout out. So Amuda S. Prasad, here's your shout out. I hope you're doing well. Brian Calendar. Dropbox also has a lot of exercises like this. It's hard. Yeah, that's a great thing. That's a great platform for learning. Domo says isometric, and you are, oopsie, you're correct. It is isometric cube. So thank you for reminding me. I'm going to write it down so that I don't forget. Isometric. Let's see. Sally says, I like this time better, you rock. Awesome. That's the better time for me too. Watercolor Germany, good evening. 123 rock fan. Do you do any physical exercise before drawing that prevents back pain or cramps in your hands? So this warm-up, I don't know if it helps with cramps in your hands, but it could probably help for that as well. Not something for back pain. Luckily for me, the back is not like because I have friends who have a lot of back pain, so I know that people have it. To me, that was never my forte, back pain. It's more like my left knee that's a little weaker, but so it's not something I had to deal with as much. My best tip for that would be to get up every 15 minutes or so, just to walk around a bit. I think that will be helpful to anyone. But yeah, sorry, I don't have any good advice on that yet. I hope I won't need to in the future, but who knows. La Aquarelle, that's inspiring. Thank you. Donna Bowman, hello. Dietitian Omari, that's a helpful visual representation of work and developing skills. Scar says, morning, Liron. Dave says, I think it's important to enjoy the journey and sometimes forget the end result. Learn as we go and make mistakes. Yep, that's exactly it. It's just the journey. You can replace this word with journey as well. Journey. Scar says, how are you? I'm doing great. Thank you. Daiji, I might miss some minutes as I get ready for work. Yeah, no worries. I'll keep everything on YouTube. So the reason I showed you that isometric cube is to show you how I do this exercise of drawing a cube from memory. So I'll start with a very simple one, just like the one I showed you. I'll go like this, and I'm sure there is science around these angles. When I get started with this exercise, I'll just try having these angles identical, so that'll be 120 degrees. If that helps anyone, I never really discussed it this way, but I try to go for 120 degrees for the first cube that I draw. Just having these equal angles, which means we're looking straight at the corner, okay? And then I'll do the thing of connecting all of the sides, all of that, like this. Now, it's not a perfect cube, but it's passable. Now, here's what I'll do. I'll try imagining what will happen if I rotate it, okay? So I'll rotate it. Let's say we're going to rotate it a little bit this way, okay? So what will happen? And you can even draw it next to this one if you want to. Let's choose a different color, actually. It'll be a fun little exercise, I think. So let me grab... I don't think I ever demonstrated it this way, so I guess it will be helpful. So if I rotate it this way, this corner will move maybe here, okay? And this point will move a bit to the back. This line we'll see more of, so it goes like this, okay? Maybe this will go a little more at the back. I don't know, maybe I'll play it around with the vertical angle without noticing, but that's fine. Now, the bottom, this line is gonna stay kind of similar, okay? And then what I'm gonna do is just connect these again. And hopefully, you see how I rotated it? So this is something you want to practice. Now you may have a hard time doing that. Again, I went a little too complex, so you'll have to forgive me. What you can do is first rotate the top plane. So let's say you have this square here in perspective, and you want to rotate it. So instead of these lines going this way, you'll rotate them a bit. Maybe let's do it a little more. And then you'll get something like this. So you see I rotated that top plane. And then I can continue with the bottom plane. Like that. Okay, but you saw I basically rotated the cube. So that's thinking in terms of rotation. But we can also tilt it up and down. So let's say I want to tilt this cube up like that. What will happen is, this time what we're doing is, let me think how I can represent it for you. We'll tilt it this way. I don't know if that's helpful, okay? But hopefully that arrow tells some kind of a story. So what I'm going to do is think about these angles. You see them from above, but the more you tilt them, the flatter they become. So if I'll just go based off of this dot, I'll leave it in its place. This line gets flatter, like this. This line, I have to visualize it now, will get slightly flatter, probably, like that. And then this is parallel to this one, but a little tapered. This is parallel to this one, but a little tapered. And you'll see way more of this side. Why? Because we're tilting it towards us. This side of the cube becomes more visible. And then you'll get something like this. So we've effectively tilted it. And with this as the anchor point. Okay, we just moved it like that. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Let me know if it's understandable. Hopefully you can get what I'm saying here. Suruchi says, hi Liron, the warm-up routine is so helpful. I will also start following it. Thanks for sharing. What else are you going to demonstrate today? So yeah, all of that. Hopefully I'm answering your question gradually as we go along. It's going to be, this is part of my warm-up too. I'll do, the entire reason I went into the isometric cube, and the reason I'm explaining this process is because I want to just show you that I'm doing a lot of cubes from different angles. Okay, and let me do a couple of these faster, telling you kind of what I'm thinking of, but not in too much detail. We'll get a few cubes in here, okay? In just 1 second. PJ Lewis. Oh, wait. Among Rack. I am back, Liron. Do you remember me? So I actually don't recognize the profile pic, but the name does ring a bell. So let me know where we spoke before. Was it the previous live? Oh, yeah, Rakshan. Of course. How are you doing, my friend? PJ Lewis. I love how you answered the question about getting out of a feeling one can draw. I feel most folks are not willing to do the work or realize that it's really the answer. Yeah, it's easier not to do the work, really, and chalk it up to experience, to talent, or some kind of a gift, where it's not really. I don't think so. It's more complex than that. What is your today's work? Oh, I remember you were interviewing me. Well, we'll get to some of your questions in a moment because they're very heady. I'll get to some of them. Yusuf says, hi Liron, thanks for your help. Happy to help. Deep Krishan Kukreti, hello sir, how are you? Welcome back. Okay, what's your work, today's work aim to say? I guess it'll be about the scenes I'm trying to capture mostly, because for this work I'm still figuring out what I'm trying to say. Honestly, I don't really know. These are all things of, a big part of it is actually still working and improving my skills, because I feel like I have a long way to go, and I always want to make sure that I don't stay too much in one spot in terms of skills. I have a lot of work to do. Let's get this kind of a thing going. Let's go way higher angle here, so that we see more of the top of the cube. But yeah, I feel like I have a lot of work to do in terms of improving my skill. One thing I do want to focus more on is actually watercolor. Let's move it now a little that way, okay? So we'll tilt it this way. This is this line, and then this moves slightly away from us, kind of like this, right? And then we see a little bit more of this side, but not too much. You see here how this connects? Watercolor especially, I feel like I've been not neglecting, but I just didn't have as much time to just paint for myself. So it's definitely one thing I want to work harder on, maybe for the next month, or maybe for April. This is going to be my focus, just to do larger, more challenging paintings. Maybe try out some new techniques, things I don't feel as comfortable with. I think that'll be really helpful for me personally, for my personal growth. Let me show you one more thing you can do. So I just basically did a couple of cubes, different angles. Again, I'm not going to go too much into perspective here, because I talked about it before and I will talk about it in the future. I want to frame this from the angle of how I get ready. I want to show you one more thing that can kind of help you to improve your understanding of three-dimensional space. So again, if you do this kind of a cube here, the simplest, perhaps most generic one you can, that still maybe takes perspective into consideration. One thing that can help you better understand it is to draw you can either call it a wireframe, or you could also call it a cross contour line. So what you do is imagine you wrap this cube with a rubber band, okay? So let's imagine we're taking a rubber band and we're wrapping it around the cube. Now how is that going to look like if it gets close to the cube and follows its pattern? It's going to look like this, okay? Imagine you're gift wrapping it, okay? And then imagine the other side too. So it goes down and up behind. Let me go over the lines we actually see so that it's clearer, okay? Bit of a sloppy line work, and keep asking questions. I'll definitely get to some more soon, okay? Drawing questions are welcome, any kind of questions really. Same thing on this side, okay? Now, at first, you may have a hard time getting this kind of a wrapping action to work. Here's a quick tip. Connect the corners, I've shown this before, okay? And then this is the center point. So if you just follow the patterns of these lines through the center point, you'll get that area, okay? But what you really want to practice is not just in the centers. What you want to do is wrap everywhere. Wrap this shape with these wires all across it, okay? You really want to develop an understanding of how, so you see I mess it up too, an understanding of where these lines would go, okay? How they work, also in perspective, but just generally speaking. You just want to understand how to do that kind of a thing. Create, either you want to call it that grid or kind of a thing that wraps around the shape, okay? This is really important. If you just look at a Rubik's Cube, you'll get that same pattern. Again, you get, let's say it's the normal Rubik's Cube. So you get 3 on each side. Just going really fast here. So you see it's the same pattern. And if you've done a good job, these are all supposed to be squares in and of themselves. So this will be an accurate square. I know I'm a bit all over the place, but hopefully it's still, you can get some kind of a value from it. This is another square in and of itself, and so on. Okay? Now let's set cubes aside for a moment, talk a bit about cylinders, because that's another thing I do to warm up. Okay? A reminder to anyone who's just joining, I'm talking about warm-ups for drawing and sketching. You want your lines to be fun like that. Like right now I'm really warmed up, so I'll do all sorts of fun lines very easily. I'll do a lot of, and it will be almost like a comedian that's warming up to go on stage. Same thing, to feel confident and to feel like you're going to draw beautiful lines, you sometimes have to warm up. Right now I feel very confident in my lines. I don't know, I'm not guaranteed to produce beautiful lines, but I do feel very confident in them. So if I'll draw like a head, like the Loomis method, and then I'll cut the side off like this, and I feel just very good about these lines, you see? I feel very much in control of these lines, and it's because I did that proper warm-up, if you will. Here's the ear for us, okay, and the neck. Probably thinner neck. Yeah, okay, that part is a mess. It's a mess. We'll ignore that. But I feel very confident with my lines after doing all of this warm-up, okay? So another aspect of warm-up is cylinders. We'll get to that in just a second. Let's see what you're saying in the chat. I want to make sure that I always look at some of what you're saying. Scar says, do it while you can, Liron. When your body betrays you, it's too late. Take it for one, who knows. If you want to do something, do it now. Yeah, I'm trying to always do the things I want now and appreciate what I have right now. It's a part of my morning routine, gratitude. You know, I'll probably still, once I lose something, I'll still be like, I didn't appreciate it enough. That's just life, I suppose. Among says, what are 3 positive things your last boss would say about you? That's really a job interview. My last boss, I had a boss last time, maybe in 2015. So what they would say about me is probably that I work hard, that I help other people around the office. What else? Well, that's an interesting question. I'll entertain it. I think that customer support, which is what I did, was really important for me. Like the other end, the customer's experience was most important to me. And that's something that was really valuable there. So I guess that. Sally says the dark cross helps the camera focus, please. Yes, I should definitely do more of these. Laurie Huber says, good morning from Canada. Good morning, Laurie. Yeah, and sorry that I started this one a little earlier. Thank you so much to anyone who's here, the 70, 80 people we have. I don't know why I can't see the chat, unfortunately. Is there a button that I can... I don't know, man. It's annoying. But in any case, thank you so much to anyone who's here. I would appreciate if you like the video. I see 48 likes, so thank you so much for that. If you can do more, that helps more people find the video. Let's talk about cylinders. One more way that I like to practice. So cylinders are fun. What you want to do is basically start with a line, which is the long side of the cylinder. So let's say this is the long line. Again, it doesn't have to be a super accurate line. What then you have to find is the line perpendicular to that. Okay, like this. Create a 90-degree angle, and then you basically want to create an oval, as I've shown you, around that line. Connect the two sides like this, and then another oval for the bottom. Sorry, I need to sharpen my pencil. Let me do that. So that's how you do a cylinder. Now again, the reason I'm showing you this is because I'll do a lot of these as part of my warm-up routine. So let's sharpen the old pencil. And I think this is better. I'll also show you how I sharpen my pencil in a bit of a different way that I think is really helpful. Learned that from Proco, and you may appreciate it as well. So let me flip over. Don't worry, I'm going to do that cross so that you can actually see something. By the way, I should get a delivery at some point today, so my apologies if I'll have to just mute for a second, make sure that it gets here properly, and yeah, so sorry about that in advance. So what I'll do is, again, create a bunch of these ovals, find the long axis, and then the perpendicular, and then complete them by adding these lines and adding another identical oval to the other side. And I'll do a lot of these, and you want to practice doing all sorts of ovals, shorter ones like maybe like a tuna can, or maybe longer, thinner ones. You can do ones that actually change direction, like I've shown you just a second ago. So you'll have this and that, and you'll kind of connect them. But what you always want to be aware of is what direction you're looking at them from. And by the way, this is something I promised I will explain. Actually, let's explain it. So still life. You know what? I'll do a dedicated live stream. I promised I'll show still life where you have a lot of pots or vases, and it's really hard to get the right angle of oval. I'll do that in a separate video, okay? I will show you in just a second a way of maybe making it a little easier on yourself. Maybe if you trap the oval within a square, okay? But I don't necessarily want this to be a 3D live, even though it looks like it is, but it's just because I'm doing all of these warm-ups. Now, on those cylinders, you want to add cross-contour lines, just like I showed you with the cube. Imagine if a rubber band would wrap around this. Basically, it's the same oval that's here, okay? So if you recreate that oval, that side, that is just like the opening in this example, is going to be the same. And you want to practice doing this until it's intuitive. When I do this oval, I don't need to draw this line and then the perpendicular line and then drop these lines. I know, I can tell this is the long axis and I go perpendicular to that. So you want to work on these things. Let's say these kinds of dividing it into different planes and wrapping them around, like I showed you before, around the shape. It's just things you want to practice as much as you can. Use real-life reference in the beginning, but ultimately you want to be able to create these from imagination. Now, this basically brings me to my full warm-up routine. So again, I'm just going to go real fast over it, just to conclude, and then I'll see if you have any questions. Let me know now. I'll search and see if I missed anything, and then we can pretty much talk about whatever. So first, starting with lines, then going with circles, then going with ovals and finding the long axis, then starting to build some three-dimensional shapes like cubes in all directions from imagination, rotating them, starting with a generic one that's just up front. I actually have one here I can show you. So starting with this kind of an angle. Let's see here. Let's find it like this, okay? What you see now is you see the different parts of it identically, okay? This is a 120 degree angle, 120, 120. okay? The most generic angle you can get, and then think to yourself, what would it look like if I'll rotate it? You'll see less of this side. So this square gets really tightly squeezed. If you look at it up front, dead in the front, it's a square. The more you move it to this side, the more it gets pinched. Now, it may get pinched like this, like a, what do you call this shape? Like a diamond shape, or it may be off center, you see, and where these edges are not, they don't ever meet. Like here they meet, but here they don't. So you want to work on all of these nuances. It's not easy. Have this kind of a thing in front of you and figure it out. The thing I was talking about tapering corners, I can actually indicate it, show it here. This side is farther from us than this side. So this line is shorter than that line, which is what makes this line taper. It moves away from us, okay? Away. Same goes for these two, away from us, okay? Or towards us, it doesn't matter, but it's away from us. This side is farther away. And look at what it looks like here. This line is longer than this line. See this? This is, I think, the best way actually to show it, so hopefully that helps. So yeah, you use a cube, you rotate it. At first use a reference, then in your mind's eye figure it out. And you want to do this, a lot of it in all different directions. It really will warm up your eyes to three-dimensionality. Okay, now let's look at some of the chat. Okay. Pence Palacio, hi Liron. Hi my friend, sorry, you probably thought I'll start the normal time, so my apologies. Anime rules gaming, can't act here anything, I'm at work noisy. Oh, sorry about that. So hopefully you enjoy looking at the screen with the cubes I'm drawing. Marjorie Johnson, you were early, I'm late, good morning. With my arthritis, warm-ups are becoming necessary, not just a good idea. Oh well, so I have to say, I think I'm pretty young, and still I have to do like a physiotherapy session basically every day because of my left leg and left knee area. I had this inflammation thing, and it's really persistent. It's really, really persistent. So if I walk a lot one day, the next day I may feel it. It was really bad, but as soon as I started doing proper physiotherapy, it really started helping. And I've been doing it for probably a year now almost, or maybe 6 months to 12 months, I think. And I'm doing it almost every day, 5 times a week, I mean. So yeah, you just need it at some point, I guess. Rando Rich Potato, hey y'all. Andrea Wakert, hi, I got the exactly the same sharpener. Oh, I like this sharpener. Among says, I'm in India now. In my place, all people are sleeping, but I'm in your stream because you influenced me a lot. Thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. Don S says, hello, idol. Wouldn't go that far, but thank you so much. Among says, when were you most satisfied with your job? Probably right now, or in the last few years, I guess. Anne-Marie Lofberg, hi, here in Sweden, it's afternoon, 2:50 p.m. So here it is 3:50 p.m., so we're like 1 hour apart. Don says, sends a dab. Bo TV says the pelvis. Yeah, the pelvis is tough. I actually learned how to draw the pelvis in all different directions from imagination, kind of a simplified version of it. It's really tough. I can try doing it, but I don't know if I'll remember. Calvin Zero, I have a lot of trouble drawing curvy things like circle and oval. Yeah, you have to do the warm-up, Calvin. It's a challenge. And it will be wonky at first. Like, I get warmed up really fast now because I build a good momentum, but it will be hard at first. So don't beat yourself over the head if your ovals kind of look like this or like that, or worse, like you have to go for hours just to find the circle. That's fine. It's just a part of it. Your muscles learn. You do these things and your muscles get used to it. Okay? Because Palacio highly run out of context. Just curious, what was your favorite subject during your early years in school? Interesting. What was your favorite subject during your early years in school? Well, if you're saying really early, even like preschool, that'll be like, I loved anything that has to do with fish and the ocean. So I actually have a few paintings that I remember, but I lost. I got lost at time. Of me drawing with just markers, sharks and a treasure, undersea treasure and fish. I really liked that. Now I think the slightly older I got, the more I was interested in people, but I never ever took the action to actually learn. I didn't have the awareness. I would just try and draw people from people, heroes, whatever, like Power Rangers, stuff like that, from what I looked at, but I never really, I didn't have, I don't know if the agency, but I didn't really have that awareness of knowing that I can learn and I have to actually apply myself and learning these things, which are the basis, because the basis for a pelvis is a cylinder or a box rather. So it's really all of these things that will build your skill in that regard, and I didn't have the awareness that I could learn it this way. So I never really applied myself with these things. But yeah, people were a big thing. Pokemon in an early, like, 4th grade, I guess, something like that. 3rd, 4th grade Pokemon, that was the thing. I even sold a couple of paintings, smaller ones, for like 5 Israeli shekels, which is $1.50 maybe, $1.50. Andrea Wakert, what practice exercises could you recommend to improve accuracy and drawing? All of this, all of that. Accuracy in particular, I would go with the thing that's really good. Now, there is another aspect to accuracy that I don't know if you had in mind or not, but that's just focus. How focused you are as you're working and how immersed you are in the process. It's a big topic that I want to talk about in the near future. It's actually a really big topic. How much you're immersed in the process, you're deliberate and focused, can have a huge influence on the result. You can take yourself up 2 or 3 notches in terms of skill of the result, how good the result is, just by doing that. So I would say that's big. Don't be halfway, half drawing, half doing something else. Like, really think about what you're doing and be very deliberate. Also, planning is a big aspect. So let's say that you have a really hard time getting a, let's say something like this, like a tuna can shape in perspective. So you have to plan it out. That's perfectly fine. So you put the dot and you put these 3 lines, all creating a 120-degree angle. You turn it into a box, and it should take you longer than it takes me, okay? So it's okay if it takes you much longer. You turn it into a box, and then you think to yourself, okay, how can I get like an oval shape within it? So you have, these are your axes. I don't know how to say it in plural, but these, here they are. And then, okay, so I know the square should meet my, if I trap an oval inside a rectangle, I know it should touch the middles of all of these sides. So what I'm going to do is connect them. So how do I find the middles? Connect the corners, then you find the middle like this, because it's where the corners meet. Same goes for this side, okay? So you found this. So you know that the oval should go somewhere around here. That's how you slowly get it right, okay? And then you place the oval in. It's not going to be great, it's going to be okay. And then you follow that same axis, same perspective, and then you place it down here. And then you get this kind of a shape, okay? So you have to be deliberate and plan it out. Okay, that's perfectly normal. Now with time you learn, and I kind of messed this one up, but that if you have this kind of a rectangle and it goes like this, the oval's long axis will be perpendicular basically to that, so you can kind of do it this way. Or let's say if you have a car, I've shown this before, so let's say you have this kind of a car in perspective, this axis, you go perpendicular to that, and that's the oval for the tires. You know, it may look surprising, but that will be the oval for the tires, okay? So just a quick thought. Planning and being deliberate is a big part of it. So yeah, hopefully that helps. That's a long answer to the quick question, Andrea. Watercolor by Shilpi. Hello, Liron. Hey, how are you? Saira Ahmad. Is it just like anatomy? Do you mean like this, doing these different... It's pretty much the same, because in anatomy you have to learn what the shapes look like in 3-dimensional space, and it will be anchored in those shapes, okay? Which is why I start every anatomy session with all of these warm-ups. Everything that I just showed you, I do everything. So yeah. Among, does your opinion about the artwork change the longer you look at it? Yeah, definitely. Sometimes my opinion will change of an art piece if I look at it more, especially my own work. Yeah, for good or bad, you know. Really random at times. course, Sam, I have to go. Thanks for the stream, Liron. Yeah, hopefully you'll catch it on later on, the parts you missed. And if not, that's perfectly fine. There will be plenty more live streams. Boat TV, the pelvis is quite fun. Yeah, it is. It is fun to. It's tough, but it is fun to draw. Vaishnavi says, hey, how are you? Cynthia, I missed the whole thing because my husband parked the car, got hit by a random goober who hit the mirror while it was parked in front of my house, and I had to go, oh, that's terrible. Sorry about that. That sucks, but at least hopefully they talked and they exchanged information for insurance purposes, hopefully. Let us know how it goes. Marjorie Johnson, idea for future tutorial: how to paint snow. Happy for April 1st Fool's Day. Snowstorm here last night. Snow, another 4-letter word. Snowstorm now. Yeah, it's gonna rain probably here tomorrow and the day after. I hope it doesn't, but it should. Pence Palacio, cool. Started drawing when I was 5 and can make faces during that age. Started painting at 9 and started with acrylics. Cool. It could be interesting for me to start with color properly earlier. I don't know. I got to it really late. How was the Pokemon? Roxanne asks. Okay. I don't know, there's noise. Oh, it's from outside, sorry. How's the Pokemon card collection going, Liron? How many cards do you have now? I have tons of cards, too many to count, to be honest. But I'll probably take a small break for the next couple of months to see where the market goes, because the prices right now are a little crazy, and I think they're going to go down significantly for some cards. And I want to take a break from buying new ones and more focus on what I already have to kind of realize what direction I want to go in and what I want to collect more of. So it's an interesting time, actually. Hiela, this question may sound stupid, but what pro artist older pencil like this? I'm new to drawing. Proko, Stan Prokopenko. If you check out his YouTube channel, he holds his pencil like this. A lot of people do. A lot of watercolor artists do as well, because sometimes you'll work at an angle and it's just more comfortable when you paint outside. I do that a lot, actually. Well, yesterday I went to buy Daniel Smith paints following your limited palette, but French Ultramarine was finished, so I bought the same colors by Winsor Newton. Professional, step ahead. Anyway, yeah, definitely. It's just not as, it doesn't matter as much. You could go with just Ultramarine if they had it, but French Ultramarine is always the first paint to go off the rack. It's always like that. Calvin Zero, do you have any tips with contour drawing? Whenever I try, I always mismatch scale and in wrong perspective. Interesting. So what I would do, Calvin, is I'll work with a grid. So let me show you. So let's say this is your, you create a rectangle, because this is a very common issue. Maybe it's worth to stop and talk about it for a while. And then you do the horizon line, okay? And then you choose a vanishing point on that horizon line. So let's say here. And you create this kind of a grid. Okay, I know it's not fully accurate, but that's fine. Okay, now let's say you have another vanishing point, because we may need one. Now it's outside the frame. So you create another grid of lines coming out of that. See? Now you have a grid to rely on. You can either do it on the grid, or you can do it off the grid and just kind of reference it. So let's say we do it on the grid. So I'm going to create some kind of a box here, and I'll use these 4 corners. Okay, so I'll do 1, 2, 3, and 4. Ruth, surprise visit. Calvin, wait 1 second. I will address it in a moment. Shalom. Watch out for the cable. How are you? How are you doing? Trying to escape. Say hi. And escape. You can go. You're free to go. Sorry. Okay, so that was the daily Ruth visit. Now, so I was working on this cube. And I'll follow these 2 vanishing points. Let's add a third one, because I forgot. Now, let's do this a different color, because I don't want, and maybe I should have done all of these different color, but we're fine. So start drawing a grid from that vanishing point as well, okay? Like this. Now here's the thing. Every straight line you're going to draw here will follow one of these perspectives. Every single line you're going to put here. So, let's see what we got. To create the, let's say, side lines of the cube, we'll use these to levitate it off the ground, so to speak. Okay, so these lines, right? Now look at the grid we created. Okay, if you see this, if you want to do another line, it's here in the middle. If you want to do another line, it's here in the middle. You don't always have to reach out to the vanishing point and draw the line. It can help, and if you have to do that, but you still have a grid to work off of. You see? You still have a grid, so everywhere you are, you know what to place. Let me show you here as well. See these two lines? This one and this one? You have a grid. So you can kind of eyeball it. Okay, it's not going to be perfect, it's kind of eyeballing it. Again, you can use the trick I showed you, connect the corners, and you'll find the center point. And then drop a line from that, so you know. But you don't even have to do that. You can kind of eyeball it because you have a grid. So let's continue with the cube. Now, we'll connect these sides. It's not a cube, it's a box, my bad. And now look at this line. What perspective is it going to follow? This one, okay? So kind of like this. And yes, it is skewed a bit because of my own inaccuracies. You'll have to forgive me for that. But because, again, the vanishing points, they're not perfect. I should have put more distance between them, a bunch of stuff. It doesn't matter as much. It's just technical. Now, how do you do the contour lines here? You have a cube. You have a grid. You follow these two. That's all you have to do. Okay? So, and I'll show you an easier example in a moment. If you want to wrap contour lines around this side of the cube, let's say you want to go from top to bottom, follow the grid. Here's one. We already have it ready. Now look at this line and this line. Try and get a feeling for the middle, okay? It's not going to go this way. It's not going to go that way. It's going to go somewhere in the middle. It's not going to be this exact angle, not this exact angle, because if we take this exact angle and put it here, it's going to look really awkward, you see? And it may be hard to imagine, but this is kind of the same angle. And look at how off that is. You have to follow the grid. Now, let's say you want to do the same for this side of the cube. This side that I got a little off, okay? You follow that same grid. Look at this line, for example. Yeah, okay, I totally messed this one up. It should go like this. Yeah, I got it wrong, my bad. This cube is wrong. This cube is wrong, ignore it, my bad. It goes like this, okay? The principle, though, stays the same. You follow the grid. So you have this line, and then you have this line. Follow the grid. You have this line, follow this line. Follow the grid. Even in my wonky cube, I can still follow the grid, okay? This side as well, like this. Now, let's say you want to wrap around this side of the cube, but going that way. So, follow the grid. 1, 2, 3, you have a bunch of them. Follow them. See? It will take time and you will get a feeling for it. Okay? Now, let's go just for a second back to an isometric cube. Okay? So let's say you have a cube in which it only relies on these three axes without perspective. Okay? So, one side of the cube is going to be like this. Another one's like that. Another one's like this. This is going to be perfectly parallel. This is going to be perfectly parallel. Here, you have a bit of an easier time doing these lines. Why? Because it's all parallel. So all you have to do is just follow the parallel lines. Parallel lines. Parallel lines. Parallel lines. You see? The issue that you encounter, and I know that's a very long answer, but that's the point. I want to really show it in detail. The issue you encounter is that you're not working on a parallel grid. What you're working on is in a grid and an angle. So instead of these lines being parallel, they're actually at an angle. So what you have to learn how to do is to treat this grid the same way you would treat this grid. Okay? And follow it, fill in the blanks. Practice on filling it. You don't even have to find the middle, but learn how to follow the shape of the grid. Okay? And add to it. when it's in perspective, like here. Okay? I know it's complex. This is what you have to practice. I hope that helps. Sorry for the very long answer. Do you have tips for gesture drawing? Yeah, I'll talk about that in just a second. I want to see, let's write it down so that I don't forget. Gesture. Okay. And how to improve line work. Yes. To navigate artwork. Marjorie Johnson. In a college art class, the teacher was insistent, and by the way, that's by Bo TV. You get a real shout out. I'm writing your name. Marjorie Johnson. In a college art class, the teacher was insistent that at least part of our warm-up was to start with shoulder motion. Yeah, that's interesting. That could work. Andrea Waker, thanks, cool answer. Happy I could help. I'll call you Rakshan, no more Among. So Rakshan, thank you for the questions. Cynthia78, nope, it was a hit and run. Found it this morning. Called it's terrible. That's annoying. It's gonna coming back inside. Seeing you draw cheered me up. Thanks. Oh yeah, that. Axes. Axes? Okay. I hope I got it right. Sujanith, how are you? Welcome aboard. 123 Rockfan. I was discussing the subjectivity and objectivity of art with a YouTuber, and they try to argue that some aspects of art, like filmmaking, are objectively good or bad. What do you think? I don't know much about filmmaking. But, so, filmmaking has some other aspects that are not just artistic. For example, decisions you make can make your film cost double the price to film. So these things can be objective, like objectively bad filmmaking will lead to an overblown budget. But if you're talking about just the artistic side of things, it's a great question. So here's the thing. Let's say you created a film and it got really bad reviews, like authenticated reviews from a very varied audience. Both critiques, both just normal people watching it of all walks of life. You could argue that it's objectively bad. However, if there's even one person who enjoyed the film, was it bad for them? No, it was a good film. So then the question becomes, what do you define like good or bad as? Is it what the majority thinks, or is it enough for one person to like a certain art piece for it to be good? See what I mean? So if it appeals to a very narrow audience, basically non-existent, a few people, I would argue it's still good because it served that audience. So even from a more philosophic standpoint, I would say that as long as there's one person who likes it, there is a good aspect to it. And there's probably one person to like anything. So I don't think you can say it's just objectively bad, is my answer, I suppose. Definitely not too off topic. I like that question. Rakshan, where can I send my artwork? Send it to Liron at lironyan.com. I'm going to write it down here. Liron at lironyan.com. I'll do artworks. Send them here. Okay? Tazin, how are you? Says hi, Liron. I hope you're doing well. Marjorie Johnson, I've found that French Ultramarine by Daniel Smith travels more than Winsor Newton. Therefore, it depends on the purpose, but I may prefer... Yeah, definitely, there is this aspect. Cynthia says super cute dog. Marjorie says hi, Ruth. Draw her puppy. She's not a puppy, she's a grown dog, but she still looks like a puppy. I will try and draw her more. Depends Palacio, 3 points of perspective drives me crazy. I might feel a little dizzy after my warm-ups. I might blink every second while drawing. Yeah, it can be very confusing, but draw a grid. As long as you draw a grid accurately, you're fine. You can follow the grid. You'll always have some kind of a guidance, you know? Okay, so let's talk a bit about gestures. My general tips about gestures, Bo TV asked. First off, do a warm-up. That's really useful. Now, for gestures, it's really all about the movement. You want to capture the movement. I wouldn't worry as much about proportions, okay? I hope it makes sense. So, let me open up just some kind of a thing, I don't know, like dancer. If I just search for dancer, I'll find tons of poses that are great for gesture drawing. So let's see what we can find. Okay, this is a good one. Now, you can see it. I don't like using pictures off of Google necessarily, so I won't. well, it's just a small picture. I want to show you something that you don't even have to see the reference for. So let's say you have this, a dancer that's raising one leg. So you want to find one line of movement that you can kind of summarize the entire thing with. So for me, that will be this kind of a line, and you will see it will come together soon. Okay. Now you can already kind of guess what the gesture is going to be like, even though it's probably still not fully, you can't really fully understand. I get it. But you want to get one or two lines that represent the entire motion. Movement is what you're after. Take a few steps back, look at the figure in small, and try and find the overall movement, okay? So, if I look at the movement on the left side, if you will, I'll just get this little pinch here, okay? Something like this. If I look at the movement on the right side and look at how I'm not worried about proportions at all. I don't care about proportions at all here, okay? And if I look at this leg, it goes something like this. And if I look at this leg, it goes something like that. I'm gonna mess up the proportions even kind of on purpose. And then we have one hand in the air and another hand kind of going to the back. And then the head is somewhere around here. Okay, so you get this kind of a movement of a dancer. Okay, now I wasn't clear at all in terms of three-dimensionality and the shape, and you can't tell if this leg is moving towards us or away from us. But what you do want to follow is the motion. The first motion I recognize here is this. Okay, and everything else has to serve that motion. Everything else has to cater to that motion. The second largest motion I recognize is this leg. Now, I wasn't fully accurate because she's actually standing on her toes, so maybe something more like this. You see how just a small change can change really everything, but maybe something like this. It doesn't matter really. I want to go beyond a certain reference when I give you these tips. Now here you can see why doing these warm-ups is so important, because to get these confident lines, you have to do the warm-up, okay? You have to practice it. I will give you one big tip, very important for gestures, and I'll write it down because it is very important, okay? One line that you'll often search for is the pelvis, okay? What you'll find is the leg on which more weight is on, this side of the pelvis is going to be up, okay? So let me show you without a reference. I'm just going to do it like this. So this is the line for the pelvis. This leg has more weight on it, okay, than this leg. So there's one leg here, one leg there. And what will often happen is the shoulders will compensate for that. So you'll get a tilt in the other direction. And with barely any details, see? I don't even okay, you do need some reference, but even in a very idle pose like this one, you still feel the feeling of weight, okay? So maybe the hand is like this, maybe one hand is like that on the side, to the side of the body. So just showing you. Let me search for one. Let's search for a reference photo that makes sense in that regard. I want to show you this. So let's say action pose. Let me find something that really demonstrates the whole, because that's huge. The moment I noticed that, and it's true not for all poses, but for most poses. Why can't I find just one normal pose that will show that? Okay, I know what to do. I know what to search for. Okay. The easiest example I can actually think. I can actually show you an example here in my sketchbook. What am I thinking about? I have a bunch of examples here. So let's look at some of these. Okay, super easy. Like this person is running. I even have a better version of it here. You see the tilt here? This part of the pelvis is a little higher. Here it's even more obvious. See? And the shoulders compensate for it. This part is raised because more weight is on this leg. The runner is actually stepping on this leg while this one is in the air. Okay? Let's look at another one. Even here it's a bit subtle, but this leg has more weight on it because it's the only one on the ground, and the pelvis actually is tilted a bit in that direction. Something like this. Okay? not perfect, but it's something along these lines. Maybe a little less of an angle. But this part is definitely, well, it is this angle because this part is more upper, okay? This is one of the things that the moment I realized that it works this way, it made it so much easier. Let me find a few more here. These are hard to tell because some of them are in the air or, you know. Now, the only exception, this is actually a good example, the only exception to this is if someone is extremely raising one leg. So in this example, more weight is on this leg, but because the person is raising their leg, it influences the tilt of the pelvis, okay? Let's find another one that's good at showing this. Again, see this figure here? Where's the center of gravity, or the center of balance? Sorry, it's here. So more weight on this leg. Okay, this leg supports more weight, and because of that, look at that very gentle tilt. The pelvis is not going this way, it's going that way. Okay? Even here, for example, if I'm not mistaken, more weight is on this leg, and the pelvis actually goes into space like a little higher here on the farther end. Okay? Let's see if we have some more. I think we actually got to today's session, so no more. I have tons of other sketchbooks to show you, but with figures. But this is, I think, the big one. So you will notice the pelvis, you really want to pay attention to that angle. And very often the shoulders will compensate for it to create balance, especially in idle poses of a person just standing or walking very slowly. So yeah. It was a pretty long answer. Cynthia, vanishing point question. How do I know where to put the vanishing point? Is it just the farthest I can see from my left eye to the left? Okay, so what will usually happen is this rectangle will represent your field of view, your field of vision. So if we put a horizon line on it, what will often happen is your field of view is too narrow to see the vanishing points. Okay, so if we have a point here and a point there, if I'll draw a box based on it, like this, like that, okay, it doesn't matter, the third side isn't as important, but if I draw just this box, it looks normal to you, it looks good. But what happens when we make the mistake of putting the vanishing points too close? And too close is, usually it will mean within our range of vision, okay? Look at the type of cube or shape this creates, okay? And the closer it is, the worse it gets. So this is a 90-degree angle, remember. And it looks nothing like a 90-degree, okay? Whereas it should be wider, it should go like this. So when you put them too close together, basically in your field of view, that's where you make the mistake. Now the third vanishing point, same thing goes. You put it much lower or much higher, okay? This is kind of a first guiding principle to help you. Now what will often happen is you won't really draw the vanishing points on the road and all of that, because usually you draw something. And what will happen is you won't see the vanishing point and you won't draw it, you'll assess where it is. So for example, I have my bottle here. Now, I'm not going to draw a grid for it. I'm just going to assess where everything is. Okay, so I'm going to draw it the way I see it on camera. So it's going to be a little complex, but bear with me. So what I see here is the top. Okay, the line, the main line representing it is tilted a bit to the left. And I know it won't focus on both. So my forgiveness. Now, there's a line perpendicular to that. And that will give us the axis of the top. Now, how did I even recognize this line? And these lines are going to taper. I recognize it from observation. I did not draw a third vanishing point down below, connected it all, because, why didn't I? Because it's going to be way down there. Look at these two lines. It's going to be way down below. Okay, you can't find it even. In most cases, what you have to do is understand how it works and then apply it to what you see. Okay, now to understand how it works, yes, you do have to do a couple of these scenes and grids and do like a chessboard or something like that, but also just drawing cubes will help with that. Okay, if you just draw a bunch of cubes in perspective, it will help you with understanding this whole idea of vanishing points. Because look, if you just connect these points, try and find a vanishing point. Try and find this vanishing point. It's still, even here at this angle, it's way behind. Okay, so something to have in mind. You won't necessarily draw this all the time. You will assess it based on what you see. Now here, let me do these two sides of the bottle, so something like this. It tapers a little more actually, so let me make it smaller. Now here we have the oval for the bottom. Now it's going to be wider because it's lower. We're looking at it more from above. Okay, and that's pretty much it. If you want to do more structure, then yes, you'll have to add this top part here, and then you'll get this kind of a lip created, and that'll go all the way to the back. You see, it's kind of a, and this goes here. But the basis for everything I'm doing right this instant is this simplest three-dimensional cylinder. That's the basis for everything. And then don't be in a hurry to do this before you can do that. Okay? I hope that helps with vanishing points. General guideline, they're going to be outside your field of view. If you would have seen them, it would have been weird. It's like, I don't know, a narrow angle, something like that, or a very wide camera lens can do that, and it will skew everything. You will notice it skews the scene. Generally speaking, if that's your field of view, it's going to be outside of that, especially the third vanishing point, because it's much farther. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Cynthia, let's catch up with some other questions. And what time is it? We've been going for an hour and a half, so soon I'll try and bring it closer to wrapping up. Maria, thank you for the tips. I will start applying. I'm glad I have the opportunity to see some of your live videos. Have a great day. Bye. Thank you so much for being here. Rakshan, do you prefer drawing or inking more? What is the hardest anatomical part to draw? I don't know if there's a hardest anatomical part to draw. They all can be complex. Hands are hard, definitely. Fingers, knuckles, all of that, a lot of complexity. Drawing or inking? I like drawing. I like inking. It's just so different. With inking, you can kind of get in the zone, listen to music, enjoy yourself. With drawing, you have to focus sometimes, build things very accurately. I find inking way more laid back, I will say that, which is more fun very often. Elsa Grace, Yella, when we write, we do so with our fingers and wrists. When we draw, we want to use our shoulders, arms. Yeah, it will depend, because to get to finer details, you will use your fingers a lot, but yeah. Dave says hi to Rakshan. Kal live in Letro. I can't read that, sorry, I don't know what it means. Zaid Thakur, hi Liron. Hey Zaid, how are you? Sujanith, how often do you practice drawing? Despite you are quite advanced in your drawing or art. I see myself as almost a beginner to drawing in watercolor. So I try and practice as often as I can, really. I will try and make more time for it in the following months. More watercolor mainly. Always be a student. Like I don't think there's ever a time where you can really lift your foot off the pedal. If you're asking like how often, preferably at least 3 times a week of a good session, like, I don't know, an hour at least. Preferably every day for an hour, every day for 2 hours if you can, 3 hours. You know, the more the merrier, really. But the minimum to me is 3 sessions a week. If you really want to improve, like I'm going through periods where I know I won't improve, but I'll kind of stay at the same level. But the minimum for that, for preserving your skill, to me is 3 sessions of at least an hour every session. A week, that is. BoTV, I draw anatomy a lot, learned from Proco for 3 to 4 months and pretty much remember all of them. It's just hard to draw more smooth, not too rough. Yeah, I get it. The one thing too with anatomy is, and I talked about it with a friend, it takes so long to really implement it, and you have to go through cycles of learning it. So you learn, and then you relearn, and then you relearn, because it's so detailed. There's so much to learn and so much to improve always. So don't be too hard on yourself on that. Now again, if you're having a hard time drawing smoothly and having the lines flow, do the thing Proco recommends. Sharpen the pencil like he does. I can show you later. I have one that's sharpened kind of like that here. So sharpen it like he does, hold it like he does, and then do it like he does with, you know, practice this all day long. Practice it all day long. I know it's hard to put everything together when you look at a figure and you're thinking to yourself, okay, the rib cage, here it is, and then it's tilted a bit to the right, and then it's a little from above, and then you have to place everything in, so you get this kind of a, I don't know, I don't even remember what a rib cage looks like sometimes, but something like this, and this is where the head connects, so something like that if you want to simplify it, I suppose. And I know it's hard to put everything together, so like this smooth drawing and the anatomical knowledge. So practice both separately and try to do it separately as much as you can. It will connect eventually, but if you're really drawing this kind of like that, you really have no chance of getting a good result. It's gonna be a little skewed. It's not gonna look good. You have to develop control over circles, ovals, and square. No, I'm just kidding. Squares are just lines. So lines, that is, okay? Kelvin, I know how to draw in perspective when I build it slowly, but that's very slow. What I want to learn is how to do contour drawing. Yeah, okay. So that's a totally different skill. A couple of things. I do think if you practice this with the grid, it will help it become more intuitive. Because, okay, so when Tim Wilmot does these rooftops, he understands what their shape looks like in space. So the reason he can go like this and like that and do, oh, you can't see anything, sorry. Like this is a rooftop or a contour of a rooftop of a house and all of that. The reason he can go like this and then a boat like this is probably because he has a very good that's a gondola. I have gondolas on my mind, but let's say a boat more like this, right? The reason he can do that, and I can do that from imagination, is because I have understanding of that three-dimensional aspect. So ask yourself the question, I don't know, are you good enough in, okay, so here's the thing, because you said when you work on it slowly it works. I would encourage you to get to a level where you can do really this from every angle, because that is the one thing that will help you. If you can do a cube from imagination, you already are at a place where you can draw these shapes more impressionistically. But if you can't do that without the grid, without building the vanishing points and all of that, if you can't do it without these, if you have to rely on these, maybe you need to make this a bit of a stronger skill, okay? Because when he does it real fast, it looks easy, but there is a lot of knowledge that is subconscious behind the way he does it. Okay, that's my point. So yeah, and I get it. If you need to go through the motions of building it slowly a lot of times in order to make it more intuitive. That makes sense. 1, 2, 3, rock fan. I think the picture you're drawing is the girl in the blue leotard, right? I don't know if you'd call it a leotard, but I think it is, yeah. There's a lot of poses like this on Google, but yeah, it's like the third result. Yeah, and it's a tiny picture. It says the resolution is 4,000 to 3,000 pixels, but it's a tiny one. Marjorie, last night I watched you paint the bridge disappearing at the distance. I would love to see more of that idea. I've been working on florals where the garden is the distance. Oh yeah, I think I saw your comment too. So you were talking about how there is a single flower, a single bloom, as you say, and then the background is more blurry. There is an artist, I forgot their name, but they're really good at doing this focus, kind of feeling of focus. I'll have to get back to you on that one, but I did see your comment, if I'm not mistaken. I'll try and answer it. Sorry if it takes long or I forget. Ask me again and I will remember. Lori, for a beginner, who would you recommend following on YouTube to learn from? Proco, for drawing Proco. Stan Prokopenko. Definitely. Kelvin, I'm not able to draw any figure without building it. Yeah, I'm not able to do that too. I can try, but it's really hard. So here's the thing, it was funny. A friend was over and he was showing me how he's constructing just from kind of searching for the lines. And his result is pretty accurate at the end of the day. And I showed him how I would do it, kind of constructing. So I actually drew the rib cage here and figured out where to place it. And I went for an extreme pose on purpose. But you see, I built it. I could not do this without building it slowly. That's perfectly fine. Like, expecting yourself to be able to draw things just from imagination without doing the constructions, it's really tough. And not to mention reference. Like, sometimes you just need them. So yeah. Zaid, same timing next week, or you'll be going back to the old one? I'm not sure. I'll do a poll maybe. Let me know what do you prefer. Do you prefer me going at 8 a.m. Eastern time or 9 a.m. Eastern time? Do you prefer today's time or what we have done so far? I actually don't care as much. It's either 3 p.m. for me or 4 p.m. Both are okay. 3 p.m. sometimes is nicer. I don't know, but whatever I do, I'll make sure to tell you at least a day in advance. That was my mistake. I didn't let you know. Elsa Grace, favorite drawers are from... Is it a word, drawers? I don't know if you can say it, really. Maybe I just don't know. Domo, I really struggle with finding the ellipse side of the head in difficult angles. Like when the head is tilting simultaneously up and sideways. Yeah, that's really tough. Here's a tip for you, Domo, because it is a major issue. The name of the game here is really patience and planning. So let's say, I'll probably mess it up to some extent, but let's say you want to draw a head at a very complex angle, okay? What I would challenge you to do is constrain it within a cube. And here's what I mean by that. Let's draw a cube. It could be an isometric cube. It doesn't have to be in perspective, really. So this is our cube. It's a very annoying angle that's kind of from above, and you want to draw a head in it. So start with a circle, as you always would. Now, what you want to do is find, let's say the head is aimed at this direction, right? So what you want to do is find that side plane, right? That side of the head. How do you find it? Look at this line, go perpendicular, and that's your angle. Now, if the head is looking to this side, you'll probably, and look at what I do here, I follow this line, I do this kind of an ellipse. It'll probably be something like this. Why? Because this is the long axis, like I've shown you here, kind of accurate. It should be a little more, oh, it's actually pretty good, okay? And because it's it's at a 3/4, I'll make it a little smaller, maybe, like this, okay? And it will vary based on different people's face structure, but let's say this is it. Because this is the long axis, and because it has to divide the head into perhaps almost down the middle, because look at this extreme, like, example. You see, extreme angle. If this is my, the side section of the head, you almost get an equal distance, you see? This is kind of the middle point, okay? So it's kind of dividing it down the middle here, okay? You got that down. Now, let's talk about the tilt. The tilt is going to follow this angle too. So you're looking at this circle, and look at this line, okay? This line, same line, it's parallel. Base the tilt around that. So something like this, okay? So this goes like that. I know it's a terribly challenging angle, but we got it down. And this is the overall circle, okay? And then we will connect this to the back of the head using this set of lines. How do we do that? We follow them. This line, parallel. See? Now what we essentially got is the cut off circle or ball for the head. We still didn't get the chin in, okay? Now, the head, it's not tilted down as much. We can see how much downwards is tilted, okay? Let's do the side here, because this will help us as well. Parallel to these lines. You always have a line to work with. You always have a line to rely on. You have to use the cube sometimes, okay? Now, let's say, let's do the center line of the face as well. So you have to eyeball it, yes, but let's say the middle part between this, which are the temples maybe, is not in the dead center, a little to the left, because we're looking from the side. So you'll get something along the lines of this, okay? Now, this is the part that pops out the most, not the nose, but the ball of the face. Drop down a line from that to the bottom. Okay, now it's not a guarantee because people have different curvatures on the face. So sometimes it'll be like this, sometimes it's really a little more outwards. Okay, it really depends on the person's face. But let's say down. Now, how do we find the line of the chin? Follow the cube. Do it like this, you see? Following that cube, that same cube. Now, connect the side of the face here. We're not doing the facial features at all, okay? Now connect that side rhythm that the Loomis method does, right? Like this. Now, this goes a little down. It's where the ear is let me show you where the ear is at. So you see it this way, down, okay, this side. Having a hard time showing you, but this goes down and then it connects to the chin. So something like that, okay? And you got the shape of the head, kind of. Now what happens around here is this connects and then the neck comes out of here, okay? And this should probably be more inwards like this, because again, the curvature of the face is different for different people. I did it kind of sticking out too much. And then from this shape, this rounded ball, if I try and imagine it, if I go around it, the neck will go maybe somewhere around here. You see? And that way you got the head in perspective. Super hard. I wouldn't have been able maybe to do this without the cube. Okay? Same for below. You'll have to do a cube that you see from below. I'm not going to do it because it's a long process, but you do a cube that's from below. Draw the circle within it. Think of the side plane, right? So it's parallel to this, so it's something like that. Okay? This follows that same line, so the face is like this. Drop a line from there, from the center, all the way down to the chin that will follow this perspective of the box. You see, same perspective. Connect the side planes, do the side, connect the side rhythm. Now here you have to know the structure of the neck and the bottom of the head and how it connects. So you'll get this kind of a thing, and you see the bottom here of the neck. And this is the real tricky part. You can actually see where the neck connects to the head. Okay, in this angle. It should be probably this way. My bad. And then you get the head. I said I won't do it, but I ended up doing it. You see, so you kind of get the head from below. Okay, I did this one a little quicker, even though it's a harder angle for me personally. And I haven't even gotten to talk about the facial features, like the nose, the eyes, and all of that. That's an added layer of challenge, right? Because then you know that the eye socket dips into the head, and so you'll have a dip, and coming back from the dip, you'll get this kind of a thing. See? So you have to use basic shapes to get that accuracy in ovals and circles and balls shapes. You have to use a cube sometimes. That's my biggest tip for you. And then you know you have the 3 axes, X, Y, Z. Okay, I don't know if that's the official letters for them, but yeah, I hope that helps. That was a pretty long answer. So Domo, I hope that helped you. Now let me know. And if you're talking about the ellipse of the side plane, it's all about parallel lines. So if the person is looking down and a little to the side, think about this angle that meets the square, and then you go parallel to that, and that's the long axis of the square, of the ball, okay? It's not easy. One thing you can look for is that line of the eyebrows to ear, and parallel to that, of the eyebrows, sorry, parallel to the eyebrows, perpendicular to the eyebrows, you'll find this angle, okay? I know it's a challenge, but hopefully that kind of helps. Let's skip a bit, go to the bottom. Pence Palacio, thoughts on nude art. First word that came to mind is overrated. So have that. But just because it's so historically, like, whenever someone does nudes, it immediately sells for more. And I just don't really understand. Like, I get it. The human figure, it's the toughest subject out there. It's the thing we like to say is the most sophisticated thing nature created and so on. I still think it's a little overrated, in my opinion. But I don't know. Who knows? Anders says, great tips. Thank you so much. Cynthia, center of gravity. If one leg is extremely raised, can affect the tilt of the pelvis. Great lesson. Yes, that is true. Bo TV, I can think in 3D way, but need more practice. Yeah, definitely. It's practice the basics, the fundamentals. Don't go overboard. Don't go crazy. Well said. Started drawing from where I was really young till I was 18. I was good. Drew comic characters to have fun. From there, I didn't draw anymore for 30 years. Yeah. From there, I watched a lot of videos. Parko as well. Had a live art course. There, the first color medium was watercolor. Decided to focus on it here. Cool. That's a really cool story. I can really relate to some of it, and what's funny is when you return to drawing, it's so weird. It's like you're really being humbled and you understand how hard it is. It's harder than you thought. You thought it will, you'll pick it up and you'll be back to where you were. It's not like that at all. And I think when you get older, you also realize what's possible out there, and you've been influenced by a lot of art, so you expect the gap to be smaller between what you produce and the professional level, and there's always a lot of work to do. So yeah, but I'm happy to have you here, really. It's so cool that you discovered me that way. Cynthia, that makes so much sense now. Thank you, I get it. It's where our view vanishes from wherever we are. Thank you. Yes, exactly. And it's like, you can see the vanishing point. I have to reiterate. If you have a winding street, of course you will see it. So you know it will be within your range. But when you want to represent an object like this that has two distinct planes facing away from us, and you use two-point perspective, yes, it will be from outside our field of view. But yes, of course, for winding streets, winding roads, nature, whatever, yes, you will see it. It's important to remember there is also one-point perspective. And you'll have multiple perspectives in every scene. Okay, again, it's just how do you easily represent the shape you're seeing. What grid or kind of a trick you can use for that. And that's where vanishing points come into play. They're not real. They're just representations of an idea, of a concept. Elsa Grace. It's not an art, it's an exercise your proportion form. Yeah, I get it. Zaitakura, a good guideline for placing vanishing points is to place one kind of close to the border and another vanishing point thrice. Oh yeah, that's interesting. So 3 times the distance. Interesting. Haven't thought of that. Cynthia and Rakshan, advice for professional artists. I don't know. I don't think I have any good advice aside from practicing, maybe. Oh yeah, I have one. I have a good advice for professional artists. Make sure to market your work and not just make art all day long. It can really help, because a lot of people don't do that. And don't be afraid to do that. I know it's our kryptonite, marketing for artists, but it actually is very fun. It can be very fun at times. Basically, Kelvin, do volumetric drawing until it becomes automatic, and you will be able to. Yeah, that's basically it. And once you do, don't feel like you have to always go back to the grid. Like, practice it. It will be tough, but practice doing the cube without that grid or without that preparation. Even if you mess it up, try it a couple of times, understand what you got wrong, and like don't get stuck in always doing it the volumetric or whatever you do, the way you do it. Okay. 1, 2, 3. That YouTuber was arguing that the pacing and dialogue of certain movies was objectively bad, and I argued it would be like saying a really abstract piece of art. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I think what I said earlier kind of answers it, hopefully. So yeah, we're going to go over the questions real fast. I think it's close to wrapping it up. My voice is getting a little tired. I have to get a haircut. I have to eat something. But yeah. Manish Kumar says, wow, thank you. Little Artist says, big fan, sir. Thank you so much. Daijishinori, I agree that inking is laid back sometimes, but nerve-wracking because you want to follow the outlines laid out. Yeah, there is an aspect of that as well. To me, I know I can fix things digitally. I can use whiteout, whatever you call it. So it's not the end of the world. But yeah, preferably you want to get it right. Anders, it's like in chess, even a grandmaster has so much to learn. Yep, so true. Zaitakor, how would you go about doing master's studies when you don't know how the master painted a scene? You guess. You really have no way of knowing very often. You try it out, you get a different result, and then you think to yourself, oh, okay, what did I do differently? You try that out. Sometimes glazing different layers in different order will get a different result, and you're like, oh, so it looks much warmer the way they did it, so I'm going to do it the other way around, or use more warm colors, or whatever. You have no real way of knowing their process, so you do the best you can to recreate it with your intuition, with the techniques you're familiar with, and hope for the best. Yeah. Don't forget to like the video. Thank you, Barb, for telling people. Okay. Domo, I just want to draw with straight ink. That's my biggest goal. Yeah, that's really fun. That's really fun. Sujanith, Liron, do you have so much knowledge? Could you do an art syllabus for self-taught watercolor artists? Yeah, I believe you already asked me about it, so I'm going to write it down for myself. I'm going to write it down here. Syllabus. How do you write syllabus? I'm not sure how to pronounce it. How to spell it. I'm going to go with the way you spelled it. I'll trust you. Syllabus. for self-taught watercolors. Watercolors. Yeah, that's a good idea, and I think you already, either you or someone else already asked me for that. La Corel, do you also own one of those wooden mannequins? Not really. I have a bunch of different plastic mannequins, but they're not as good. Let's skip a bit. Loomis Method. This is the Loomis Method rock fan. I received, Zaid, I received your submissions in the mail. Did you send them just now? Because I have received, I believe, before. But if you sent anything new, let's see. I believe I have. Yeah, I received them. Yeah. Hope that puts you at ease. Barb says 9 a.m. is great. Okay. Daji for me, I prefer 9 a.m. because I start work then, but we'll be on the live all throughout. Okay, I'm gonna write it down to 9 a.m. because I do see some people prefer that. Principal asks, your lines are so clean and more accurate. I do have a hard time cleaning my lines for initial sketches, having more unnecessary lines flying around. This is so dark. I won't go as dark at all when I draw for myself. I'll go very, very light. I just go dark because it's a demo, and I want you to see it. But go much lighter. Ideally, I wouldn't want to have this kind of a thing to clean too. It's a nightmare. Now that I look at it, by the way, I think it should even be more like this. See? Even more inside, but I don't know. It's okay. Don't be a perfectionist. I don't have a reference, so who knows. Marjorie Johnson, I have to use a plastic ruler now, hands a little shaky in order to do fairly straight lines. I've never seen anyone do this. Any suggestions? I don't put ruler on the paper, hold it above and more or less use as a guide. Yeah, no, that makes sense, of course. Do what you have to do. Not everyone can get a smooth line. That's perfectly fine. See this light? It's the light time. But what do you mean, I've never seen anyone do this? Do you mean like use a ruler for a full-blown three-dimensional thing? You'll do it the same. Ideally, you'll just do the same thing, but with a ruler. So let me know. Feel free to clarify, and I'll let you know my thoughts. John says, Chag Sameach, happy holiday. Thank you so much, John. I will send you your regards. Anders, a nice hack for a shorter straight edge is a credit card. Yeah, shorter straight. Okay, yeah. So if you need a shorter ruler, yeah, that's cool. Let's see here. Draw with Anushka says first time in live. Cool. God, I love the Loomis method. Okay. Marjorie, yeah, feel free to play this one again and again. You really have to see these things a couple of times to really understand them. It's very complex topics. I will, and as I wrap it up, I will talk a bit about warm-up and how it connects to. Makes a lot of sense. You like how I explained it logically. Thank you, Domo. I'm really happy to hear. Lucid Host, do you need to use a vanishing point for a good sketch? Not necessarily. You don't have to if you can get it right without that. Zaid Thakur, hey Liron, do you know of those muddy, unclean mixes and bursts and run of water in? Because that's so can I get that looseness? That looseness has a lot to do with just spraying water on it, but it will still look good even though you do all of that, because the painting looking good will depend on the overall composition, the way you structure your shapes, larger shapes, getting things kind of accurate in the drawing stage. It's very hard to ruin it with the splashes of water and random color. So I wouldn't worry about that. I will focus on the fundamentals of what makes a painting good. Okay, let's skip ahead a bit. Unraveling Anne, yeah, I managed to get you this morning, live this morning. Hope all is well. Thank you for being here. Agris says hello. Hello back. Hope you're doing well. Sorry I couldn't watch the whole session. Yeah, sorry I started early. My bad. Rakshan is going to sleep. Good night, Rakshan. Thank you for the questions. It actually brings out some interesting things from me, so yeah. Can you draw anime, please? Sion Beats says, yeah, I'll do more manga style and anime. Well, Liron, you are my teacher now, by the way. Now that you are drawing, I have to say, you have something of Alfonso Dan. It's a great compliment in my opinion. Interesting. I did learn a bit from him. Interesting. Cynthia, don't worry about the subject of the email. Just say work for critique or something like this. But let me know if you want it for the video or doing it live or just for yourself, like privately. Luck. Well, so since you're about to wrap up, just want to say thank you now before this live stream closes. This is so informative and hope to catch up on other vids. More power, Liron. Thank you so much. Yeah, Boat TV, feel free to send me some works. Cynthia, I mean, there is a preferred subject line, like the date I did. Let's see here. Okay, yeah, got it. The date I did it. Yeah, no worries. Reference always helps. So if you have a video you worked from, yes, please send it over. I always want to see the reference so that I know what I compare to. Now, if the reference is just imagination, that's perfectly fine. But if you have a reference, let me know. Principal Officer Liron is washed over happening this year. No reason not to have it. So I think we'll do it. I think we'll do washed over. It's fun. It's always a fun thing. It really pushes, I think, our skills to the limit and our determination, because you have to really paint every day, which isn't easy. It's not easy to do things on a daily basis. So with that, I want to thank anyone and everyone who was here. My apologies for starting early. My bad again. It's just I didn't know that the US moved the clock as well, and I kind of moved it based on many places that changed to DST or from DST, I'm not sure. But in any case, we talked about warm-ups. I've shown you my warm-up routine: lines, ovals, circles, connecting dots, very important. This will help you a lot with producing smoother lines, especially for gesture drawing, stuff like that. Would highly recommend it. And as always, fundamentals over gimmicks. Work on the basic stuff. It will put you in the right track to work on the more complex stuff. Find your own balance. Everyone has a different balance of how fast you need to move forward. Some people get bored if they don't move fast enough. I love this. This slide helps me wrap up the video. I can close the blinds, but why would I? The curtain, sorry. But in any case, yeah, I think that everyone should find their own pace. So if you need to really stick to something for a long time, do that. But then if you... let's see if it will... Okay, I love that. I love that glare here. The other way around. Here we go. Find your pace. Find the pace at which you learn best. And work with that. Get to know like the things that challenge you. Send work for review either for me or someone else. I do my best, but I don't have much time to review too much in detail, as much as I'd want to have it. Get feedback, and yeah, just keep practicing fundamentals. It's all about that. And thank you so much once again for being here. Really appreciate it. We'll see you on Saturday's video. It's going to be another lesson. We're going to finish soon with the How to Simplify course. Then it's going to be 2 fresh videos a week. Yep, this is pretty much it. Take care. I will talk to you again real soon.